The school bus carrying students suddenly got into an accident. My daughter, Lily, and Ryan Evans' son. Emily Carter, my wife, was the attending physician that night. As the children were rushed to the hospital, Emily was immediately assigned to the emergency room. Her hands trembled slightly as she glanced at the incoming patients, recognizing both our daughter and Ryan's son being wheeled in at the same time. But she made her choice. Her decision was swift, cruel, and irreversible. She went to Ryan's son first. I held Lily in my arms, her small body trembling, her tiny hands clutching at my shirt. Blood soaked through her dress, staining my sleeves, yet Emily barely glanced at us. "Emily, it's Lily. She's losing too much blood." My voice cracked with desperation as I kneeled on the floor, begging. She didn't even look at me. "Ryan's son is in critical condition," she stated, as if it were a fact beyond questioning, directing the nurses to tend to the boy. "Critical condition? He has a few scratches. Lily, our daughter is dying right in front of you." My voice was hoarse, raw with panic. I clutched Lily's tiny hand tighter, feeling her warmth fade away. My tears dripped onto her pale face, but she was too weak to react. Emily didn't care. "Michael, stop being dramatic." Her tone was clipped, as though my pain was nothing more than an inconvenience. She turned away. I felt my breath catch in my throat as Lily's body went still. The machines let out a long, piercing beep, one that shattered my soul into 1,000 pieces. "Time of death, 7:42 p.m., a nurse murmured. I sat there, frozen, unable to comprehend the words. Lily was gone. And Emily, she didn't even flinch. She didn't cry. She didn't even bother looking back. She simply continued tending to Ryan's son, the boy who only had a small cut on his forehead. A hollow emptiness spread through me as I turned to her, my hands shaking, my breath shallow. "You killed her." Emily finally looked at me, her expression completely unreadable. Then she sighed. "Don't make a scene, Michael." That was it. That was all she said. I stumbled back, my mind unraveling, unable to process the sheer inhumanity in her voice. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to demand she explain how she could throw away her own child like that. But I didn't, because in that moment, I knew the truth. Emily had never loved Lily. That night, I went home alone. Lily's drawings were still taped to the fridge. Her tiny shoes still sat neatly by the door. Her favorite stuffed bunny lay on the couch, waiting for her to pick it up. I sat in silence, staring at the bottle of sleeping pills on the coffee table. Lily was gone. There was nothing left for me. With a shaking hand, I poured the pills into my palm and swallowed them all. Darkness consumed me. Darkness, the kind that stretched endlessly, swallowing me whole. I had accepted it. The weight of my loss, the emptiness of my existence, there was nothing left for me in that world. So I let it take me. But then, a sound. A voice, distant yet urgent, calling out to me. "Mr. Carter? Mr. Carter, are you there? It's about Lily." My eyes snapped open. The ceiling above me was familiar. A faint ray of morning light filtered through the curtains. My chest rose and fell, my breathing uneven. I was calm. I sat up so quickly that my vision blurred. My hands trembled as I looked around, my apartment unchanged. The framed picture of Lily on my nightstand, the stuffed bunny still on the couch, the calendar on the wall, the date. I stumbled to my feet, heart hammering against my ribs. I grabbed the calendar with shaking fingers, scanning the numbers. Today was the day of the accident. A cold chill ran down my spine. I turned back to my phone, still pressed against my ear. The voice on the other end was filled with panic. "Mr. Carter? Are you listening? Lily, she's losing a lot of blood. The school bus crashed just now. You need to get to St. Joseph's Hospital immediately." My stomach twisted. This was real. Somehow, against all reason, against all logic, I had been sent back. A second chance, a chance to save my daughter. I gripped the phone tighter, forcing myself to steady my breath. This time, I wouldn't freeze. I wouldn't waste a single second. "I'm on my way." I grabbed my coat and bolted out the door. The world outside moved in a blur as I ran down the street, hailing the first cab I could find. The driver barely had time to ask where I was going before I barked out, "St. Joseph's Hospital," as fast as you can. The car sped forward, weaving through traffic. My hands clenched into fists on my lap. I had time. I could still change this. I closed my eyes, forcing myself to remember every detail from before. I had arrived too late. I had begged. Emily had turned her back on Lily. Not this time. This time, I wouldn't let Emily make that choice. The hospital came into view, and before the cab fully stopped, I threw a wad of cash at the driver and jumped out, sprinting through the glass doors. The scent of antiseptic hit me, the same suffocating stench of grief from before. My pulse pounded in my ears. And then I saw her. Lily. She was sitting on a hospital bench in the corner, though just as before. Small. Fragile. Alone. Her forehead was stained with blood, a deep gash just above her brow. Her little hands clutched at her dress, her lips pale, her body trembling. I took a shaky breath and forced myself to stay calm. Lily. Her head lifted at the sound of my voice. Her blue eyes, Emily's eyes, blinked up at me, hazy with pain. "Daddy?" I knelt in front of her, my hands gently cupping her face. Her skin was so cold. "I'm here, sweetheart. I've got you." She gave me a weak smile, but it barely lasted a second before her body swayed dangerously. Panic shot through me. I couldn't let history repeat itself. I scooped her up in my arms and turned toward the ER. "Help! My daughter is losing blood. She needs a doctor now." This time, I wouldn't wait. This time, I wouldn't let her die. I held Lily close as I pushed through the chaos of the emergency room, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Her tiny body felt so light in my arms, as if the life was already slipping from her. "Stay with me, sweetheart. Just hold on." I forced my way past the line of patients waiting for treatment, ignoring the protests of nurses. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled my lungs, the sharp fluorescent lights above casting a harsh glow over the blood-stained floors. And then I saw her. Emily. She stood at the center of the ER, issuing orders, her white coat pristine, her expression calm. Too calm. And just like before, she wasn't tending to Lily. She was standing next to Ryan Evans's son. The boy sat on a gurney, a bandage wrapped loosely around his forehead, looking completely fine. My vision blurred with rage. It was happening again. "Emily!" My voice cracked with desperation as I stormed toward her. "Lily needs help. She's bleeding out." Emily turned, finally looking at me, but there was no shock in her expression, no panic, no urgency, just annoyance. "Michael, calm down," she said smoothly, as if I were the problem. "Ryan's son is in critical condition. He has a scratch on his damn forehead," I roared, stepping closer. "Look at Lily." I shifted my arm so she could see, the blood soaking my sleeves, the way Lily's small body shivered violently in my grasp. Emily's eyes flickered down, but the hesitation lasted only a second before she hardened her expression. "Michael, I know this is difficult, but you need to trust that I know what I'm doing." Trust? She had let our daughter die before. I gritted my teeth. "Not this time. If you won't help her, I'll find someone who will." I snarled. I turned sharply, scanning the room, searching for anyone who wasn't under Emily's control. My pulse thundered as I spotted an older doctor, his glasses slipping down his nose as he flipped through a patient's chart. "Doctor," I called out, striding toward him. "My daughter needs an emergency transfusion. She's bleeding out." The man looked up, startled. His gaze shifted to Lily, and his face immediately paled. "She needs immediate care," he barked, motioning to a nearby nurse. "Get her to trauma room 3 now." Relief crashed over me like a wave as a team of medical staff sprang into action. They lifted Lily onto a gurney, rolling her away as the doctor rushed alongside them, barking orders. I moved to follow, but a hand grabbed my arm, yanking me back. "Michael, what the hell are you doing?" Emily's voice was sharp, her carefully controlled demeanor finally cracking. I turned to her, my body shaking. "What am I doing?" "I'm saving my daughter." Emily's lips parted as if to argue, but for the first time there was uncertainty in her gaze. Because she knew. She knew that I had just stopped her from making the same choice again, a choice that had cost Lily her life. Without another word, I pulled free from her grip and ran after my daughter. The next hour passed in a blur. I stood frozen outside the trauma room, my hands clenched into fists, my blood-stained sleeves stiff against my skin. The door finally swung open, and the doctor stepped out, pulling off his gloves. She made it. The breath I had been holding finally escaped me. My knees nearly buckled, and I had to grip the wall to stay upright. She lost a lot of blood, but we got to her in time. If you had waited any longer... The doctor shook his head. I didn't need to hear the rest. I already knew. I had changed everything. Emily stood frozen in the middle of the ER. Her fingers curled into fists at her sides. For the first time since I had known her, there was uncertainty in her eyes. She had always carried herself with an air of control, composed, logical, unwavering. Even when I had begged her to save Lily in my past life, she had dismissed me with cold indifference. But now she was losing control. And she knew it. I didn't wait for her to recover. My hands still trembled from the rush of adrenaline, but my voice was steady. You were going to let her die again. Emily's lips parted, her breath hitching for a fraction of a second before she schooled her expression back into one of calm detachment. Michael, that's not fair. I was following protocol. Protocol? I scoffed, taking a step toward her. Protocol means prioritizing the patient who is actually dying, not the one who has a tiny scratch on his forehead. She flinched. A small reaction, but I caught it. Emily never reacted when she thought she was right. You were going to let Lily die, I repeated, my voice softer this time, but no less sharp. Just like before. Her eyes flickered, and she knew what I meant. I saw the way her fingers twitched, the way she inhaled sharply, trying to find the right words. But I remembered everything now, and I wasn't going to let her rewrite the past. Ryan Evans' son was never in critical condition, was he? I continued. You just decided his life was more important than our daughter's. Her face paled. Michael, how long have you been prioritizing Ryan over this family? I demanded. How long have you been putting him first? She bristled. But the flash of guilt in her eyes betrayed her. I had seen it before. Every time she dropped everything to go help Ryan. Every time she ignored my calls when she was with him. Every time she dismissed my concerns, telling me I was imagining things. You think I didn't notice? I pressed, my voice dropping to something dangerous. I saw it, Emily. I just didn't want to believe it. Her hands shook at her sides. For the first time she had no excuse. But she tried anyway. You're overreacting. I was just helping a friend. A friend? I laughed bitterly. That's what you call abandoning your own daughter? Her jaw tightened, her eyes flicking around the room as if searching for a way out. But there was none. Because this time I wasn't letting her escape the truth. And the worst part? The entire ER had heard everything. Doctors and nurses had paused, their conversations slowing as murmurs spread. People were watching. The perfect Dr. Emily Carter, the esteemed physician, the woman who had just been exposed for prioritizing a man over her own daughter. Her breath came faster, her gaze darting around the room. She wasn't just losing control over me. She was losing control over her entire reputation. I saw it. The flicker of panic behind her carefully crafted mask. Emily Carter was finally afraid. And I knew, in that moment, her downfall had begun. Emily stared at me, her breath coming in shallow, uneven gasps. For the first time in years, she looked afraid, not just of losing control, but of losing me. Too bad for her. She had already lost me the moment she let our daughter die in my past life. I straightened, my voice cold and firm. I want a divorce. The words landed like a bomb in the ER. Conversations around us halted. The beeping of machines, the shuffling of nurses, everything became a distant hum as all eyes turned toward us. Emily's face went blank, as if she couldn't comprehend what she had just heard. Then, a bitter laugh escaped her lips. "Michael, don't be ridiculous. I didn't flinch. I've never been more serious." Her expression twisted. "You're angry, I get that. But you're not thinking straight." I clenched my jaw. I've never thought clearer in my life. She stepped forward, lowering her voice as if that would somehow make me change my mind. "Michael, please, let's talk about this at home." Home? That place had never felt like home, not when she spent more time with Ryan Evans than with her own family. "There's nothing to talk about," I said flatly. "You're unfit to be a mother, and I refuse to let Lily grow up under your influence." Emily flinched as if I had struck her. "You don't mean that," she whispered. "You love me." I laughed, an empty, hollow sound. "I loved you. I thought you were someone worth loving. But the woman I married wouldn't have let our daughter bleed out while saving another man's son." Her eyes widened, her lips trembling. "Michael, don't." I cut her off. "You had your chance to care. You chose him." Murmurs spread through the ER like wildfire. Doctors, nurses, and interns exchanged glances of disbelief. The perfect Dr. Emily Carter, the brilliant, composed, admired physician, was being abandoned by her husband in front of the entire hospital. She was drowning, and there was no one left to save her. Except for one. "Michael, that's enough." A voice I hated cut through the air. I turned, and there he was, Ryan Evans. Of course. He always showed up when Emily was in trouble, didn't he? "This is between me and my wife," I said, my tone sharp. "Stay out of it." Ryan lifted his chin. "I don't think it's fair for you to humiliate her like this." I chuckled darkly. "You want to talk about fair? Let's talk about how my wife has been prioritizing you over her own family for years." A ripple of shock moved through the room. Emily's entire body went rigid. "Michael? Stop." "Why should I?" I interrupted, turning my gaze to the growing crowd of medical staff who had heard everything. "You all think she's this dedicated, selfless doctor," I said, my voice steady, loud enough for everyone to hear. "But do you know where she was when I called her at night, asking her to come home to our daughter? With him." Someone gasped. Emily's hands shook, her carefully controlled mask shattering. "That's not true," she blurted out. "Ryan is just a friend." "A friend?" I scoffed. "Then why did you choose to save his son over Lily? Why did you spend more nights worrying about his problems than our marriage?" Ryan stepped in front of her, his voice firm. "Michael, stop twisting things." "I'm not twisting anything," I snapped. "But let's test something, shall we?" I turned to Emily. "If I asked you to cut Ryan out of your life completely, right here, right now, would you?" Her breath hitched, and that hesitation, it was all the answer I needed. I let the silence stretch between us before I gave her one last final look. That's what I thought. Then, without another word, I walked away. I never looked back. But as I reached the exit, I heard it. Emily's breathless, broken sob. And I knew. This time, she was the one left behind. Emily Carter had spent years building her perfect image. The brilliant doctor, the devoted wife, the respected professional. And in just a few days, I tore it all down. I hadn't planned it this way. At first, I had only wanted to save Lily, to walk away, to never look back. But Emily had spent years choosing Ryan over her family, believing there would be no consequences. It was time she learned otherwise. The whispers started in the hospital break room. At first, it was just murmurs, half-doubts passed between colleagues who had overheard our argument in the ER. "Did you hear what Michael Carter said? That Emily Carter ignored her own daughter to save Ryan Evans' kid? There's no way, right?" "I don't know, man. I was in the ER that night. Lily Carter was actually dying, but Emily was focused on a kid with a scratch." The rumors spread like wildfire. By the time the hospital board caught wind of it, my phone was already ringing. "Mr. Rat Carter?" I recognized the voice immediately. "Dr. Simon Caldwell, head of the ethics committee. I'd like to ask you a few questions about Dr. Carter's conduct." I exhaled slowly, gripping my phone tighter. I'd be happy to talk." The investigation began the very next day. Emily tried to fight it, tried to claim that she had been unfairly accused, that I was simply a bitter, angry husband looking for revenge. But the evidence was against her. Not just from that night, but from years of favoritism toward Ryan Evans and his family. The late-night calls, the confidential patient records she had accessed without authorization, the hospital resources she had quietly diverted for Ryan's benefit. Everything came crashing down. The board held an emergency disciplinary hearing. Emily sat at the long table, her hands folded neatly in her lap, her expression carefully composed. But I saw it, the way her fingers trembled against the fabric of her skirt, the way she kept glancing toward Ryan, expecting him to defend her. He didn't. Dr. Caldwell read the charges aloud. Unauthorized prioritization of personal patients over emergency cases. Unethical use of hospital resources, repeatedly ignoring critical patients in favor of non-life-threatening cases. Emily's breathing hitched. This was it. Everything she had spent years building, her reputation, her status, her entire career, was slipping through her fingers. "Effective immediately," Dr. Caldwell announced. Dr. Emily Carter is suspended from practicing medicine at St. Joseph's Hospital pending further investigation. A sharp gasp escaped Emily's lips, her composure shattered. "No," she started, but the decision had been made. The hospital had turned its back on her, just like she had turned her back on Lily. The final blow came later that evening. Emily waited outside the hospital for Ryan, for him to tell her that it was going to be okay, that he would stand by her. But when he finally stepped outside, his face was grim. "Ryan," she breathed, reaching for him. He stepped back. "I think we should take some space," he said carefully. Emily froze. "What?" Ryan winced. "The media's already picking up on this. If I get involved, my name will be dragged into it too." She stared at him, disbelief flashing across her face. "You're leaving me?" Ryan didn't answer, but he didn't need to, because the silence was enough. Emily had ruined everything for him, and now he was abandoning her too. That night, she sat alone in our once shared apartment, staring at the divorce papers I had left on the table. Her hands shook as she picked up the pen. The woman who had once been so powerful, so untouchable, now had nothing left. I wondered if, in that moment, she finally understood what it felt like to lose everything. Emily Carter had always believed she could have it all. Her career, her reputation, Ryan Evans. She had never once imagined she could lose everything. But now, as she sat in the cold, sterile courtroom, she was about to. The court finds that Dr. Emily Carter has demonstrated a repeated pattern of negligence toward her daughter, Lily Carter. The judge's voice was calm. Final. Emily's hands clenched into fists in her lap. In light of the evidence presented, full custody of the minor child will be granted to Mr. Michael Carter. Silence stretched. Emily stopped breathing. Dr. Carter will have no custodial rights at this time. A sharp gasp escaped her lips. No. The judge ignored her. This decision is made in the best interest of the child. The gavel struck once, final, unchanging. Emily had lost Lily. Outside the courtroom, I kneeled down and wrapped my arms around my daughter. She held on tightly, pressing her small face against my shoulder. "It's over, sweetheart," I murmured. "You're safe." She didn't look back at Emily. Not once. I stood, meeting Emily's desperate gaze across the hall. Her lips trembled. "Michael, please." I shook my head. "There's nothing left to say." She flinched, as if my words had physically struck her. I turned away, carrying Lily in my arms, and walked out of her life forever. Emily came to the house once. She stood outside the door, looking smaller than I had ever seen her. Lily peeked out from behind me. For a moment I saw hope in Emily's eyes. "Lily," she whispered. My daughter stared at her, blank, emotionless. "I don't have a mom," she said softly. Then she closed the door, and that was the last time Emily Carter ever saw her daughter. I moved away with Lily that week. A new city, a new life, far away from the ashes of what Emily had destroyed. She was left alone. No career, No husband, no daughter. Just emptiness. And for the first time she finally understood what it truly meant to be alone. Emily Carter had always believed that no matter what happened, Ryan Evans would never abandon her. She had sacrificed everything for him, her marriage, her child, her career. Now, standing outside his sleek downtown office, clutching the last remnants of her pride, she was about to find out just how wrong she had been. "Ryan, please, I need your help." Emily's voice was hoarse as she stood in the doorway of his office. She had been calling him for weeks, but he had ignored every message. Desperation had finally driven her to come in person. Ryan looked up from his desk, his jaw tightening. "Emily, you shouldn't be here." Her stomach twisted. There was distance in his tone. Coldness. "I have nowhere else to go," she admitted. "The hospital fired me. The medical board is still investigating. I lost everything." Ryan sighed and rubbed his temple, as if this conversation was a burden. "Emily, you should have handled things better," he said, without a hint of sympathy. Her breath caught. "Handled things better? Ryan, I protected you. I prioritized you. And look where that got you," he interrupted smoothly. Emily staggered back as if he had slapped her. You don't mean that." He stood up, adjusting his expensive suit. "Listen, Emily, I have to be careful. The media is watching, and I can't be associated with." He gestured vaguely at her. This, she whispered. "You mean me?" Ryan's silence was her answer. She shook her head in disbelief. "I threw away my family for you. I gave up everything for you." His lips curled slightly, as if amused. "And that was your mistake." A sharp, hollow laugh bubbled up in her throat. "You're a coward," she spat. Ryan didn't deny it. "Emily," he said, voice low, controlled, "the best thing you can do right now is disappear. Find some quiet little town, live a normal life, because in this city, you're finished." Tears burned in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She had chosen him over everything. And in the end, he had discarded her like she was nothing. The final, cruel betrayal. And the worst part? She had no one to blame but herself. She sold the house. There was no other choice. With no job, no savings, and debts piling up, Emily was forced to let go of the last piece of her old life. The real estate agent barely looked her in the eye when handing her the paperwork. "A shame," he muttered. "This used to be such a beautiful home." Used to be. Now it was just another thing she had lost. She took what little money she had left and invested it. Or at least, that was what she had been led to believe. A friend from her hospital days had pitched an opportunity, a way to rebuild her finances, to start over. Desperate, Emily had handed over her last $50,000, trusting that she could finally regain control over her life. 2 weeks later, the investment firm vanished. The phone numbers were disconnected. The website was gone. The money? Gone. Scammed. And just like that, Emily Carter was broke. The final letter from the medical board arrived on a gray, rainy afternoon. She already knew what it would say. "Your medical license has been revoked." The words blurred in front of her. "You are permanently prohibited from practicing medicine in the state of New York." A cold, numb silence filled the tiny apartment she had downgraded to. She wasn't Dr. Emily Carter anymore. She was nobody. No career, no money, no family, just the crushing weight of everything she had thrown away. And in the end, she had done it all to herself. Emily Carter had nothing left. No job, no home, no future, and worst of all, no family. The weight of it all pressed down on her chest like an unbearable force. She had spent years believing that she was untouchable, that no matter what, she would always land on her feet. But now, as she sat alone in her cramped, dimly lit apartment, staring at the peeling paint on the walls, she finally understood she had ruined everything. And there was no one left to save her. She picked up her phone, staring at the one name she had avoided dialing for so long. Michael Carter. Her hand shook as she pressed the call button. The phone rang once, twice. Her heart pounded. Then, voicemail. She swallowed hard, licking her dry lips before speaking. Michael, please just hear me out. Her voice cracked, the weight of everything pressing into her words. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I don't deserve anything from you. Tears blurred her vision. But I miss Lily, I miss you. A sharp sob escaped her throat, raw and broken. She gripped the phone tighter. Just let me see her. Just once, please. Silence. The voicemail ended. She waited. 1 minute, 5, an hour. No response. Michael wasn't going to call back. He never would. But she refused to give up. The next morning, she went to find him. She knew where he lived now. She had searched for weeks after he moved. When she arrived, she stood outside the building, waiting. Then she saw them. Michael and Lily walking hand in hand. Lily was laughing, a bright, carefree sound that ripped through Emily's chest like a knife. She looked so happy, so safe, so loved. Michael knelt beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face, his eyes filled with warmth. Emily's breath caught. That used to be her place, her family, her life. She took a shaky step forward. Lily, Michael's head snapped up. His entire expression darkened the moment he saw her. Lily blinked up at her, frowning slightly, as if trying to remember who she was. And then, she turned away. She held onto Michael's hand tighter. Daddy, can we go home? Emily staggered back. Lily, she whispered. It's me, Mommy. Lily didn't even look at her. She just walked away, leaving Emily standing in the cold, watching as the last piece of her old life disappeared forever. And for the first time in her life, she finally understood what true regret felt like. Because this time, there was no way to fix it. It was too late. The past no longer haunted me. For the first time in years, there was peace. Lily and I had built a new life, one far away from the wreckage Emily had left behind. I had moved to a quiet town, one where no one whispered about the scandal, where no one looked at Lily with pity. Here, she was just a normal little girl, happy, safe, and loved. And I had never been more grateful. One afternoon, as I watched Lily play in the park, her laughter echoing through the crisp autumn air, I felt a warmth I hadn't known in a long time. Beside me sat Claire Bennett, a woman who had unknowingly brought light back into my life. She wasn't like Emily. There was no arrogance in her, no sense of superiority. She was kind, gentle, and most importantly, she adored Lily. I wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time, I was willing to let someone in again. She's amazing, Claire murmured, watching as Lily raced across the grass. I nodded, smiling softly. She really is. Claire glanced at me, her expression thoughtful. You did the right thing, Michael, walking away. I exhaled, looking at my daughter, the only thing that had ever truly mattered. Yeah, I said quietly. I did. And I had never regretted it. Emily Carter was a ghost now. No one spoke of her. No one cared where she had gone. She had faded into obscurity, drowning in the misery she had created for herself. She had no job, no money, no family. She tried to find work, but every hospital refused to hire a disgraced doctor with a revoked license. She tried to rebuild her reputation, but no one would listen. She tried to contact Lily, but Lily didn't want her. And the worst part? She was completely alone. Ryan Evans didn't escape his fate either. His once powerful connections vanished the moment the hospital scandal broke. Companies refused to work with him, fearful of being tied to Emily's downfall. His investors backed out. His business collapsed, and one by one, the people who had once flocked to him for favors began abandoning him, just as he had once abandoned Emily. In the end, he lost everything too. Fitting, really. It was exactly what they both deserved. One evening, as I tucked Lily into bed, she looked up at me with sleepy eyes. "Daddy?" she murmured. "Yeah, sweetheart?" She smiled, small and content. "I love you." My chest tightened. "I love you too, Lily," I whispered, pressing a kiss to her forehead. She snuggled deeper into the blankets, safe in the home I had built for us. I watched her for a long moment, my heart swelling with peace. Emily was gone. The pain was gone. The past was finally behind us. And I would never look back. If you enjoyed this video, Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss any future content.